Hello, my name is Jonathan Courtney, and this is my video nominating GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund for this year's Project for Awesome. For those of you who don't know, Project for Awesome is an amazing initiative set up by John and Hank Green that raises money for great charities each and every year. This year, I'm nominating GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund, which is, well, a fund that GiveWell set up to direct money towards the charities they think are the most impactful. But who are GiveWell, and why should we be sending money to the charities they recommend? GiveWell is a nonprofit dedicated to finding outstanding giving opportunities and publishing the full details of their analysis to help donors know where to give. They conduct in-depth research to determine how much good a particular program does per dollar spent. Rather than trying to evaluate as many charities as possible, GiveWell hones in on a handful of interventions that are extremely impactful, and then they try to find charities that implement those interventions extremely well. By doing so, they're able to confidently recommend a handful of highly impactful giving opportunities. Given that description of GiveWell's work, they can seem kind of abstract and detached. So why am I recommending them for this year's Project for Awesome? Well, it's because the work that GiveWell does is incredibly important and incredibly difficult to do well. As both John and Hank have noted numerous times in numerous videos, the world is an incredibly complicated place, and it gets even more complicated when we are dealing with people. The issues facing people in extreme poverty are incredibly complicated, and it's really difficult to wade through all of the data that we need to in order to find those interventions that work the best. And when you look into the data, like GiveWell has, you find not only that some interventions are far more robustly proven by data than others, but also some interventions are vastly more impactful than others. And the differences between the least effective and the most effective interventions are, at least for me, incredibly remarkable. To help showcase this, we're going to look at some numbers from the second edition of the Disease Control Priorities Project, a report which compares the cost effectiveness of different kinds of health interventions. Each heart on the screen represents 1 week of healthy life measured in disability-adjusted life years. And we're going to consider how many weeks of healthy life we can get with different interventions with the same amount of money. The first intervention is a treatment of Kaposi sarcoma, an ailment that affects people in the late stages of HIV/AIDS. It's relatively expensive to treat and only really sees treatment in the developed world. By treating it, we get 1 week of healthy life for $1,000 US, well worth the cost. But if we look beyond our borders to the fight against HIV/AIDS in the developing world, we see a dramatic shift. Antiretroviral drugs prevent the progression of HIV into AIDS. Through them, we can provide just over 100 weeks or 2 years of healthy life for that same sum of money. And if we look into other interventions fighting HIV/AIDS, we find that funding the distribution of condoms provides nearly 10 years or 500 weeks of healthy life for that same unit of money. And if we broaden our search to interventions that target any disease, we will find the difference are even more incredible than this. Insecticide-treated bed nets prevent the transmission of malaria, and they're one of the best buys in public health. By funding the distribution of these bed nets, we can provide 20 years, over 1,000 weeks of healthy life, for that same amount of money. If we want to decrease world suck as much as possible, we need to sort through all of the evidence out there to find those interventions that look as good as or better than bed nets. And fortunately, GiveWell allows us to do just that. Unsurprisingly, one of GiveWell's longest-standing recommended charities is the Against Malaria Foundation, which is an organization which distributes insecticide-treated bed nets. The Against Malaria Foundation has also been chosen by Nerdfighteria in previous years of Project for Awesome, which is awesome. It's incredibly difficult to find the interventions and organizations that are the most effective, but GiveWell gives us all the ability to do just that. GiveWell doesn't just consider which interventions are the most effective, they also consider which organizations need the funding the most right now. 100% of the money you or I give to GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund will go directly to the charities that they recommend. The reason I'm nominating GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund for this year's Project for Awesome is that when we're trying to help people, I believe we should be using the best evidence-based methods for doing so. Sorting through all of the data out there just really isn't feasible for most of us to do. Luckily, GiveWell is there to help us out. If you want to learn more about GiveWell, their recommendations, or their research, you can read more in the doobly-doo down below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and don't forget to be awesome. Okay, so the video is all over now, and you know everything you need to know about GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund. But I wanted to just say a little bit about how meaningful I think this shirt is. For those of you who aren't deep into Nerdfighteria, you know, John gave this amazing video explaining why he was drawing circles representing individuals and how both drawing circles helped him to try and wrap his head around large numbers and to contextualize what they actually represented. And obviously in the context of the world events we've been all living through, I think that has been really meaningful. And one of the, you know, overarching ideas I tried to present in this video and why I am motivated to, you know, recommend GiveWell's Maximum Impact Fund is that these numbers matter a lot. That each of those individuals on a graph, each of those pieces of data in a table, they're people. they're people who matter, and that information demands our attention because it matters. Anyways, just a little addendum there. I hope you're enjoying the Project for Awesome as much as I'm sure I am. And again, don't forget to be awesome.